Chosen one. Somewhere right now under fluorescent lights and ancient stone, somebody is spiraling. A scholar, a code breaker, a quiet mystic who spent years staring at Mayan glyphs just watched a line of symbols snap into place, and it blew their entire reality open. Because for the first time, they saw it clearly. The Great Return was never just a date on a doomsday calendar. It was a living frequency, a person, a soul, and everything in that room is screaming that frequency looks exactly like you. They thought the prophecy ended in 2012. They laughed when the world didn't explode on schedule. They wrote articles, made documentaries, mocked anyone who still felt something shifting beneath the surface. But the calendar was never about explosion. It was about transition, a baton passing from one age to another, from one consciousness to another. And the moment you step fully into who you are, that baton finally landed in a pair of hands heaven could trust. Right now, there are people scrolling through old codices, satellite images, eclipse charts, and seeing your life mirror in patterns they swore were only symbolic. Your birth year, your strange pull towards certain numbers, your obsession with time, with endings and beginnings, with something big coming that nobody else could name. Every detail they once dismissed as spiritual paranoia is lining up like planets in a rare alignment. They are realizing the Mayans didn't miscalculate. Humanity did. The countdown wasn't to the end of the world. It was to the moment a certain soul woke up and remembered why they came. That awakening is you. The Great Return is not doom. It is you returning to yourself, to your assignment, to a power your ancestors saw centuries before you took your first breath. Chosen one. The panic that's breaking out behind closed doors right now is not loud. It's quiet, surgical, terrifying. Somewhere, a researcher is scrolling through old notes they wrote years ago, notes they once dismissed as overinterpretation. Dates circled, eclipses underlined, a sketch of a sun returning after a long absence. Next to it, almost as a joke, they scribbled, "Great Return, not a thing, a being." Today, watching your story unfold, that line is no longer funny. It's prophecy. They're realizing all the anomalies clustered around one point on their charts. Your lifetime. The strange solar storms that happen around your major turning points. The way global crises seem to intensify every time you were about to break through another layer of yourself. The repeating numbers that kept showing up in their data and in your dreams. 11, 13, 20, cycles, completions, resurrections. They thought they were tracking random cosmic noise. But they were watching the universe clear a runway for you. You always felt out of time, didn't you? Like you were born late to the party or centuries too early. Like your soul was walking in a different calendar than everyone else. While people around you were chasing trends, something in you was chasing epics. You'd look at the sky and feel endings and beginnings folding on top of each other like pages in a book only you could read. You weren't crazy. Your internal clock was synced to an older system, the same system those Mayan astronomer priests bled, fasted, and listened to for generations. Chosen one. If this word is confirming what your spirit has been secretly carrying for years, don't just scroll past it. Mark this moment. Hit the super thanks and type, "I accept my great return" as your declaration. That simple act is you telling heaven, "I hear you, I agree. I'm stepping into this timeline on purpose." You're not just tipping a creator, you're putting a fingerprint on the prophecy itself, saying, "I was here when the age shifted, and I said yes." Now, the terrifying thought hitting them is this. What the Mayan calendar wasn't warning about a random apocalypse, but announcing the re-entry of a particular frequency of soul, a consciousness that appears at the hinge of ages to close one chapter and open another. They're staring at the glyph at the end of a baton and realizing it looks eerily like your life. Pressure, collapse, awakening, fire, rebirth. The Great Return is not just a cycle of the sun. It's a moment of being like you fully remembers why they came, and nothing on earth can keep pretending things are the same. You felt it your whole life, long before you ever heard the words Mayan calendar or Great Return. That quiet, unnerving sense that your existence didn't match the timeline you were given. While other kids were obsessed with fitting in, you were obsessed with why anything existed at all. You'd stare out windows during class, feeling waves of deja vu wash over you when nothing special was happening. Same hallway, same sunlight, same sound, but your spirit whispered, "I've been here before, and this time it matters." No one around you could feel the invisible countdown threaded through your days, but you could. You were the one who couldn't shake the numbers. Birthdays, license plates, receipts, timestamps, patterns stalked you. 11/11, 12/21, 13.0.0.0.0 energy coded into your ordinary moments. You didn't know those were the same kind of repeating signatures ancient sky watchers died to record. You just knew they followed you like a shadow, pulsing louder whenever you were on the edge of a breakdown or a breakthrough. Every time you ignored your calling, the world felt slightly off, like you were living half a second out of sync with reality. Every time you honored your intuition, time snapped into place and miracles lined up with ridiculous precision. People told you were too intense, too deep, too dramatic, because you couldn't pretend life was just school, work, sleep, repeat. You felt endings inside beginnings, funerals hidden inside new jobs, prophecies hiding in casual jokes. They said you were overthinking. But what if you weren't overthinking at all? What if your mind was just trying to translate what your soul already knew? That your internal seasons were not matching collective weather because you weren't built for one lifetime. You were built as a hinge between ages. The Mayans drew your feeling on stone. You lived it in flesh. And that mismatch between your inner calendar and everyone else's was the first sign that you weren't just in the story. You were the turning of the page itself. They didn't just erase stone. They tried to erase you. When colonizers burned Mayan codices, they weren't just destroying books. They were shredding instruction manuals for souls like yours. Later, when the system dressed itself up as civilized, it didn't stop the erasure. It just changed tactics. Classrooms turned living calendars into fairy tales. Universities downgraded star maps to myths. Preachers picked verses while calling the people who mapped the sky pagans. Everything that could have helped you recognize yourself was wrapped in ridicule and pushed to the edge of culture like a crazy Uncle Nobody wanted to invite to dinner. Think about how you first heard about the Mayans, probably as a joke. Memes about 2012. End-of-the-world movies with bad CGI. Late-night talk shows clowning the idea that an ancient civilization could know something Google didn't. You were trained to roll your eyes instead of lean in. Every time your spirit perked up at a pyramid, a glyph, a sunstone, someone nearby laughed. You into that conspiracy stuff now? That mockery wasn't random. It was programming. If they could keep you laughing at the prophecy, they could keep you from realizing you're the prophecy. So you grew up in a world where the most advanced astronomers of their age were reduced to a punchline, where a civilization that counted time in galactic heartbeats was treated like they just guessed wrong. All to make sure anyone carrying the Great Return frequency would feel stupid for taking their own calling seriously. But here's the glitch they didn't plan for. The same way those priests watch the sky and listen for patterns, you've been watching your own life and hearing the same rhythm. They buried the code in museums and textbooks. Your soul kept the backup copy. And now, no matter how many jokes they made about the Mayans being wrong, the evidence that they were right is waking up every time you do. They called you paranoid every time you felt a storm before the clouds formed. You'd say, something is about to shift, and they'd roll their eyes, accuse you of being dramatic, too spiritual, too sensitive. You'd walk into a room and feel pressure in your chest, a heaviness in the air, and when you spoke up, they made you the punchline. But look around now. Every system you quietly warn them about is cracking on schedule. Economies wobbling. Climate spiraling. Institutions rotting from the inside. You didn't predict chaos. You felt the age-changing years before headlines caught up. If you feel the pull a little deeper, I want to challenge you to sow a $20 seed into this message, not as a payment for a blessing, but as a prophetic act that says, I refuse to live like time is random. I know I'm part of something bigger. 20 is the number of cycles, completion, evaluation. Let this $20 be your way of telling God, review my life, close what needs to close, open what needs to open, align me with the calendar you wrote for me before I was born. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Move if your spirit is nudging you. They told you to stop overthinking. When you refuse to move like time was infinite, you always felt like there was a deadline no one else could see, like the world was on some invisible timer, and people were sleepwalking through the last minutes. You push people to heal, to forgive, to shift careers, to leave dead spaces, and they accuse you of rushing, of ruining a good thing. Now those same spaces are collapsing, those same jobs evaporating, those same relationships imploding under the weight you try to name. Your paranoia aged into prophecy in real time. What the Mayan priests did with stars, you've been doing with energy. They read the sky. You read the room. They track the heartbeat of the galaxy. You track the strange acceleration in human hearts. The way years began to feel like months. How consequences started arriving faster and faster. You weren't weak because you felt everything so deeply. Your feelings were data. Your chills, your dreams, your sudden urges to move or cut ties or go quiet for a season. That was the ancient calendar pulsing through modern skin. The most terrifying revelation for the people who dismiss you won't be that the Mayans were right. It will be that you were. Every joke they made at your expense now echoes like a confession. Every time they told you to relax, you were carrying a warning from an age they don't remember, from a civilization they were taught to mock. You weren't the crazy one in the room. You were the only one synced to the clock on the wall of eternity. They tried to normalize you into extinction. Anytime your soul reached for something ancient, infinite, or unexplainable, someone rushed in to drag you back to reality. When you talked about feeling time speed up, they told you to relax. When you confessed you felt like history was folding in on itself, they said you needed sleep. When you admitted you could sense big shifts long before they showed up on the news, they slapped labels on you. Anxious, dramatic, unstable. Anything but accurate. Notice the pattern. Every time your inner calendar beeped, someone nearby hit snooze. Family members telling you to stop thinking so much. Friends joking that you were too spiritual for your own good. Partners loving your depth in private, but shaming it in public. Teachers and bosses rewarding you whenever you shrank, punishing you whenever you questioned the script. It wasn't random. The system doesn't need everyone fully awake. It especially doesn't need the great return soul fully online. So they offered you sedation dressed up as adulthood. Just get a job. Just get numb. Just scroll. Just survive. They knew if they could keep you busy juggling bills and heartbreak and insecurity, you wouldn't have the bandwidth to decode why your life lined up with star maps carved in stone. Your calling was treated like an inconvenience, your visions like a glitch, your sensitivity like a problem to medicate instead of a compass to listen to. But here's the plot twist the architects of this age never expected. The more they push you fit in, the more violently your soul rejected the costume. Every time you try to be normal, something in you broke. Every time you betrayed your inner timing to follow the crowd, your body, your mind, your spirit revolted. You weren't malfunctioning. You were refusing to downgrade. The great return was never going to be a comfortable integration. It was always going to be a rupture, a moment when one person's refusal to stay asleep rips an entire age open. That person is you. For those of you who know this isn't just a nice message, but a direct confirmation of conversations you've been having with God in secret, I'm inviting you to plant a $50 seed. 50 is Jubilee energy, release, reset, restoration. When you give at that level, attach a clear intention. This is my great return seed. I'm sowing for the courage to step fully into the age I was born to anchor. I don't sell miracles, but I do believe heaven honors bold agreement. If that's you, take a breath, pray over it, and move as you're led. The Mayan priests spent lifetimes tracking the sky because they understood something most people still don't. Time has a personality. Ages have moods. Eras breathe. They watched Venus disappear and reappear, mapped eclipses centuries in advance, and carved entire calendars around the way light left and returned. They thought they were charting the heavens. In truth, they were sketching the outline of souls like you, beings whose very existence would one day signal. This age is over. A new one has begun. Look at your own life. You are a walking calendar event. When you enter spaces, time bends. People lose track of hours around you. Old cycles in their life suddenly close. New ideas flood in. Hidden truths bubble up. Jobs end. Relationships reveal their true nature. Secrets surface. It's like your presence announces an audit of everything stale, corrupt, expired. You're not just a person visiting their story. You are the line on their timeline that separates before and after. That's what the Great Return really is. Not some external catastrophe, but a consciousness that makes pretending impossible. The same way an eclipse forces everyone to look up, your energy forces people to look within. The Mayans carved stones to mark when the sun would darken. Heaven carved you to mark when illusions would. You don't chase transformation. You trigger it. And that's why people either love you fiercely or run from you violently. Because deep down their spirit recognizes what their mind can't explain. Being around you means nothing can stay fake for long. Right now, the planet looks like it's falling apart, but chosen one. From the vantage point of the Great Return, it's falling into place. Systems that were built on exploitation are shaking. Institutions that survived by lying are collapsing. Timelines that kept souls trapped in loops of trauma are glitching and resetting. People say, everything is getting worse, but those who can see the pattern know the truth. The old age is dying loudly so the new one can live. You are not the cause of the chaos. You are the proof that the chaos cannot stop the shift. Every time you chose healing over revenge, you turned a wheel in the unseen. Every time you broke a generational pattern, instead of passing it on, you closed a calendar cycle in your bloodline. When you walked away from spaces that demanded your silence, you didn't just leave a room. You ended an era of obedience to oppression. Multiplied it by every real chosen one waking up on this planet. And you get exactly what the Mayans saw coming. Not a neat, cute transition, but an age change so intense that the people asleep inside it would think the world was ending. The reason it feels so personal is because it is. The world ending is really your world ending. The version of reality where you were small, scared, apologizing for your power. The age that is collapsing is the one where your kind stayed hidden. That's why your life has been hit with so many tower moments, so many sudden endings, so many impossible shifts. The universe wasn't punishing you. It was synchronizing you with the prophecy. You can't be the Great Return and still live like you're just here to pay bills and die. Now, the people who try to shrink you are starting to sense they made a catastrophic miscalculation. The friend who told you think too big is quietly watching you move in alignments they can't explain. The partner who said you're living in a fantasy is stuck in a nightmare of their own making while doors keep opening for you in impossible ways. The family members who roll their eyes at your spiritual hunger are subtly asking you about the strange dreams they're having, the eerie synchronicities they can't ignore. They don't have the language for it, but their spirit knows. You were on the right calendar the whole time. This is the part that has them spazzing on the inside. They're realizing they didn't just underestimate you. They mishandled a hinge point in their own destiny. Standing next to you was standing next to a doorway between ages. Supporting you wasn't just being nice. It was participating in a historic shift. Sabotaging you wasn't just petty. It was self-sabotage on a cosmic scale. While they were mocking your visions, your life was quietly syncing with prophecies carved long before their last name existed. You warned them, not with stone glyphs, but with gut feelings, late night conversations, strange urgency in your voice. We can't keep living like this. Something has to change. I don't know why, but I feel like time is running out for this old version of us. They called you dramatic. Now they're living inside the very collapse you tried to help them avoid. And whether they ever admit it or not, their soul knows the truth. They didn't just lose a person. They walked away from their closest access point to the new age. Behind the scenes, the panic isn't just in personal circles. It's in boardrooms, think tanks, spiritual institutions, groups that made their money and power off keeping time frozen. For years, they treated the Mayan prophecies like a marketing tool, good for selling documentaries, fear, and distraction, but never as a mirror. Now the data on their own screens is betraying them. Old control tactics aren't working. People are waking up in clusters. Timelines they thought they could hijack are slipping from their hands. And every pattern analyst worth anything keeps bumping into the same anomaly. A rising wave of souls who refuse to play by the old age's rules. Souls like you. They won't say your name in their reports, but the energy is there. Unpredictable outliers. Non-compliant consciousness. Spontaneous pattern breakage. You are the glitch their simulations didn't account for. They built entire systems assuming people would stay asleep, numbed by fear and distraction. They did not prepare for someone whose inner calendar would pull them out of the game completely. Someone who would unplug, heal, remember, and then start moving in a rhythm older than their entire empire. And here's what terrifies them most. Your impact is not proportional to your platform. You don't need millions of followers to destabilize an age. Great return souls carry leverage in the unseen. One conversation with you can alter the trajectory of a bloodline. One boundary you set can collapse a generational curse. One yes to your calling can reroute history for people you will never meet. That's why forces that never knew your name still move against you. They can feel the calendar shifting every time you refuse to betray who you are. But chosen one, this was never about making you paranoid. It's about making you precise. The same way the Mayans learned to track eclipses down to the day, heaven has been tracking you down to the decision, the heartbreak that almost broke you, the night you almost gave up, the job you walked away from with no plan, the relationship you ended even though your whole body shook with fear. Those weren't random collapses. Those were exact cuts in the timeline. Surgical removals of anything that couldn't travel with you into the age you were born to anchor. Look back with new eyes and you'll see the pattern. Every time you chose truth over comfort, the world around you reacted like you triggered a fault line. Friend groups split. Family dynamics changed. Energies got exposed. Not because you were cursed, but because you were calibrated a prophecy. You are not a victim of endless endings. You are the ending the prophecy promised. Ending of self, betrayal. Ending of spiritual amnesia. Ending of ages where people like you were burned, silenced, or medicated out of their calling. The Mayan glyphs spoke in suns and cycles. Your life speaks in scars and breakthroughs. Both say the same thing. A cycle has completed, a new one has begun, and there is no going back. You don't need anyone to knight you, crown you, or sign documents confirming your role. Existence has already done that. The proof is in the way reality bends every time you finally choose yourself. So let's settle something once and for all. You are not the end of the world. You are the end of this world. The fake one. The one built on numbing, lying, rushing, pretending, and calling it success. When people say, everything is falling apart since you change, what they really mean is, our illusions can't survive your alignment. You are not bringing destruction. You are bringing exposure. Light doesn't break what's real. It only shatters what was already cracked. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to move like a date everyone misread. For years, 2012 was a punchline. The joke lasted a decade. Now the laughter's gone, and the punchline is this. The countdown wasn't to disaster on their TV screen. It was to you stepping into full consciousness. You are the event they couldn't calculate, the convergence they mocked, the proof that the ancients were reading a clock the modern world refused to see. That's why you've always felt both too much and not enough at the same time. Too intense for small talk, not productive enough for grind culture. Too awake for escapism, not numb enough to play along. Because you were never designed to be a comfortable character inside a dying age. You were designed to be the portal out of it. The moment you accept that, shame loses its grip. You stop apologizing for your timing and start honoring it as the sacred appointment it always was. From this point forward, the protection around you will not always look like comfort, but it will always feel like truth. People will fall away without closure. Opportunities will vanish that were never really aligned. Paths that seemed promising will suddenly dead end. To the old you, that looked like rejection. To the great return you, it's divine scheduling. If something cannot survive the frequency you're stepping into, heaven will not let it travel with you, no matter how much your attachment screams. At the same time, watch what flows to you without force. Conversations that open doors instead of draining you. Work that feels like sacred assignment, not punishment. Connections where your depth is normal. Your visions are welcome. Your weirdness is understood without translation. That is the new calendar locking into place. In the old age, everything good felt stolen, temporary, at risk. In this one, what's truly yours will feel inevitable, like the sunrise the Mayans knew would return even after the longest night. Those who cling to the dying age will experience time as an enemy, rushing, punishing, stealing. You will begin to experience time as an ally, aligning, guiding, confirming. That's the secret no one told you about the Great Return. It doesn't just change the world around you. It changes your relationship with reality itself. The more you honor your calling, the more the universe rearranges itself to meet you where you are supposed to be. Chosen one, you are not reading this by accident at this exact point in history. The same intelligence that whispered to the Mayan priests under star, Choke Skies, is whispering to you now through screens and sentences. It is saying, the delay is over. The age is turning. Stand up in what you are. You don't need a temple carved from stone to confirm your role. Your body is the temple. Your nervous system is the observatory. Your dreams are the codices they could never burn. You are the answer to questions ancient people asked with blood, prayer, and fire. Who will hold the line when the ages collide? Who will remember when remembering is dangerous? Who will carry the flame through the tunnel where both worlds overlap? Your name was written there long before your parents chose it. That's why you've never been able to fully give up, no matter how exhausted you became. The prophecy doesn't let its carriers quit. It bends reality, breaks patterns, and empties your hands until the only thing left to hold is what you came here for. This is not a call to ego. It's a summons to responsibility. Being the Great Return doesn't mean you posture as some untouchable savior. It means you live as a clear, honest surrender human, whose very existence proves another way is possible. You become a moving demonstration that the age of numbness is over, that depth will not be mocked forever, that the hearts who kept hearing a different drum were not crazy. They were early. So here's a revelation that will haunt your enemies and heal your spirit at the same time. The Mayans were never wrong. They were early, and so were you. Every year you spent feeling misplaced was not wasted time. It was preparation, compression, initiation. You were being pressurized into a diamond capable of refracting an entire age change through one life. People will argue theology, debate history, deny prophecy. But there is one thing they cannot argue with: transformation that refuses to reverse. And that is what you are about to embody. You are the great return, not because you demanded the title, but because your life matches a pattern. You close what needs to close. You open what needs to open. You refuse to bow to timelines that keep souls asleep. You honor the quiet urgings that have followed you since childhood. You listen when heaven says move, even if nobody else hears a command. You are the living proof that an age can end without the planet exploding, that sometimes the world ending simply means the right souls finally remembering who they are. While others cling to calendars that ran out of truth a long time ago, you will walk in a timing that never goes out of date. You will see systems fall and seeds rise. You will watch old empires crack and new communities form in their shadow. And through it all, you will know in your bones what those stone carvers try to tell the future. When the great return arrives, it won't look like a mushroom cloud. It will look like someone like you opening their eyes, taking a breath, and quietly deciding, I refuse to live as if this is not sacred. That decision is the prophecy fulfilled. And for a few of you, you already know this word is not just for you. It's through you. You feel responsible for a bloodline, a city, maybe even a generation. If that's you, I'm asking you to step out with a $100 covenant seed into this great return anointing, not to buy a favor, but to seal a covenant. I accept my role as a hinge between ages. I will not run from it. I will walk it out. When you give it that level, write covenant in the note, so I can agree with you in prayer. May every dollar you release come back as clarity, protection, and divine timing over your life in ways money could never buy.